I'm Mo. It is May. It's getting towards June, July, August, those summer months, and although I do not make traditional TBR videos and I do not make traditional TBRs, I do like to follow readathons and I do like to follow reading groupings. So like for instance, Women in Translation in September, or Sci-Fi September, or Nonfiction November, or NYRB April, or March Mystery Madness. In June, July, and August, I like to read hyped books. I like to read BookTube Darlings. I like to read contemporaries, and especially in June, I like to read queer books for Pride Month, of course. So last year I did a video as a summer TBR, and I thought that this year it would be nice to do that video again. Maybe we'll go back and see how many of those books I actually read. That would also be a fun video. Let's start with June and some of my pile of possibilities, some of my potential TBR to read queer books in June. Last year in 2021, I reread Tales of the City by Amisted Maupin, and I was lucky enough to find a bunch of the later books in the Tales of the City series in a little free library at the end of 2021. So in June, I'm hoping to read more Tales of the City, which is the next book in the collection. This book follows a bunch of different characters who all find each other at an apartment building in San Francisco. It's about their lives, about queerness, about acceptance and found family, and coming to the realization of accepting others and accepting yourself. I love these books and I'm super excited to continue on with the series. Recently I got Tin Man by Sarah Winman. I've only heard good things about this, although supposedly it is quite depressing as well, but this follows a queer man and his relationships, and that's really all I know about it. That's also really only what I need to know about it to read it in Pride Month. I read Pet by Akweke and Amezi earlier this year, and I'm super excited to get to Freshwater. It also features a trans, non-binary, gender fluid character and the idea of demons slash spirits slash creatures of an unworldly nature inhabiting bodies, and I'm super interested to get to this one. In 2021, I read Franny, the Queen of Provincetown by Preston. This is kind of a forgotten gay American modern classic, and it follows Franny as they navigate their body and love and life in Provincetown, Rhode Island, right before the AIDS crisis. I really loved this book, which was told in multiple perspectives, because although it dealt with heavy topics and sad ideas, it also was a ultimately happy gay book. Franny's takes place right before the AIDS crisis, and there is actually a second book in this version that was never before published, I believe. It's a partial novella about what happens to Franny and her found family in Provincetown after the AIDS crisis hits. I want to reread the first book and read the second novella in this in June. I recently found A Dancer from the Dance by Andrew Holleran. This is another gay American classic. I don't know what it's about, except that it is about gay men. It is a well-known gay text, and I'm super excited to get to it. When I picked up Here Comes the Sun by Nicole Dennis Benn, I did not realize that this was a queer-centric book. I only knew that it took place partly in Jamaica, and I'm super interested in reading more Caribbean work in 2022, so I was excited to get it. Now that I know there's queer themes, I want to try to get to it in June. Upright Women Wanted is on my 21 books I found out about in 2021 and that I want to read in 2022 list, and I don't know for sure that this has queer themes, but I'm pretty sure it's about a all-woman team of Pony Express riders delivering mail across a post-apocalyptic future America, so like, how could there not be some queerness in this? And finally, I was so excited to find Ruby Fruit Jungle, another gay American classic, this one focusing on lesbians in America by Rita Mae Brown. Rita Mae Brown also writes some cat-centric cozy mysteries, and I'm super excited to get to her lesbian classic. Those are some, but not all, of the queer books that I want to read in June 2022. I probably will not get to all of these books at all, but I do have a large pile of other hyped and exciting books to get to for July and August. Like I said, my focus is on contemporary, well-known BookTube darlings, and one book that I included on last year's list but I haven't gotten to yet is Final Girls by Riley Sager. I know this is a dividing one, and Riley Sager's kind of dividing in general. During summer, I always want to read some thrillers and some thrilling books. They're great for beach reads. I haven't read any Riley Sager yet, so I have this one and I'd like to get to it. Next, going a totally different way, but with some thrilling elements, is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I've never read any of his work, and I think Never Let Me Go is probably his most famous, most well-known. I know my friend Haley really liked this book, and a lot of people that I follow love this book. His newer books are a little bit more divisive, but this one is pretty much overall a favorite dystopian, sci-fi, thrilling, but also quiet, boarding school vibes kind of book. Sort of a modern, considered a modern classic hyped book. A very beloved BookTube book that I am dying to get to is Martha Wells' All Systems Red. This follows a futuristic spaceship where there is a semi-sentient AI on each ship, and in All Systems Red, the AI android hacks its own programming and becomes fully sentient. Maybe Severance by Ling Ma is not the best book to read while we're still going through a pandemic, but this pandemic, post-apocalyptic future novel, plague novel, is supposed to be really amazing, and this is another one that I could see being like a super fun beach read, just flying through it while laying in the sun and trying to forget my other problems. No summer TBR would be complete without some sci-fi. We've already talked about some other ones, but one book that I've been meaning to read is Catherine M. Valente's space opera. This is often compared to my all-time favorite book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, I'm not expecting it to be a favorite like that because nothing can touch that book in my mind, but I'm super interested in everything that Catherine M. Valente does. She does such a wide range of books, and this one is one that's supposed to be silly, funny, and interesting, and sci-fi. Appleseed by Matt Bell might not be your typical summer read, and it's not a very hyped BookTube book, except it is very hyped by Bob the Booker. So if you are running in the circles that I like to run in, this is kind of a hyped book. I recently found this one in a little free library, and I'm super excited to get to it. The teal bright blue cover definitely screams summer, although I think this is a kind of depressing cli-fi book. I still hope I can get to it over summer 2022. Two more thrillers that I'm super excited to get to are The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is not a summer themed book, but again, I love bringing a hardcover to the beach with me. It stays propped open when you're lying on your towel, and this one seems like a fun, fast-paced, not having to think too much summer read. On the other hand, In My Dreams I Held a Knife, which is also on my 21 books I found out about in 2021, but I wanted to read in 2022 list, doesn't seem as fun and fluffy, but still seems like a great thriller to read during the summer months. One of the books that I picked up for my birthday in February I still haven't gotten to, which is The Night Tiger by Yangsze Chu. I really don't know what the plot of this historical fiction is, but it's not overly long, and I think it would probably be a good one to read in the summer. It's a semi-hyped book from booktubers. Some people I know really enjoy it, and some people didn't, and I feel that Yangsze Chu's work is kind of like that. Either you really like it or you don't, and I'd like to find out for myself. A very hyped BookTube book from several years ago is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed. Again, this isn't necessarily a fun book because it follows a young black nanny as she is taking her charge, who is a white child, when the child's mother has something else to do, and the nanny is accused of maybe stealing or doing something inappropriate with this child. It seems like a millennial fiction, my life, my problems kind of book, but also with some social and racial justice kind of themes with it. People love this book, so I am excited to read this hyped book. Ghosts by Dolly Adderton is not necessarily a beloved book, but I think that it sounds like a very summer book to me. It's about a woman who falls in love with a ghost. Another not summer themed book, one that takes place in cold weather and cold areas, is Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. This is another cli-fi novel of following the last migration of a group of terns. But I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and her next book, We Were Wolves, has come out and people are liking that one as well. I think this is a pretty short book. A lot of booktubers I know really like this. Some of them, it was their favorite book of 2021, so I'm excited to get to this book. I think Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson was also on my 2021 summer TBR. I haven't gotten to it yet. This is about some unusual children who can spontaneously combust. And lastly, maybe the most summer appropriate book for a summer TBR is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a very beloved BookTube darling that follows some of the characters that were in Daisy Jones and the Six and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo last year and ended up surprisingly really enjoying it. So when I saw Malibu Rising, I picked it up. This follows a family in LA and they're having a summer party, so the cover, the themes, you just can't go wrong for a summer TBR with Malibu Rising. The name, you know, come on. So those are quite a few books that I would like to get to in the next 3 months. Some of them are queer, some of them are BookTube darlings, some of them are a little bit more depressing. Let me know if you make a summer TBR. Let me know what your summer book reading practices are. Do you read at the beach or at a park or in your backyard? And let me know what your favorite style of book to read is. Do you like summary reads? Do you like thrillers? Do you like depressing reads because you're uplifted by the summer weather? Tell me if you've read any of the books that I have here or which ones I should prioritize for the next 3 months. And thanks so much for joining me today. I will see you in the next one. Bye. Why do I sit on the floor for these things? They hurt my legs so much.